There's something Carl Jung once said that changed how I view tattooed women forever. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." They're psychological messages, silent signals written in ink, hiding in plain sight. Not everyone wants to see it, but once you do, you can't unsee it. This isn't about fashion, it isn't about style or rebellion. This is about the deeper, darker layers beneath the surface. Because when you look at enough stories, women marked in ink, seemingly confident and expressive, there's a quiet pattern forming, a pattern of pain. And here's the part no one's talking about. A large number of tattooed women aren't expressing confidence. They're expressing wounds and they don't even know it. I know that's hard to hear, but I didn't come to this conclusion overnight. I started asking questions. Why do so many women get tattoos during emotional turbulence? Why do the symbols chosen seem connected to grief, trauma, or identity conflict? Why do some of the most vibrant and expressive designs seem to echo the darkest corners of the mind? The deeper I looked, the more I began to see it. And the more I saw, the more I realized this wasn't about tattoos at all. This was about the unconscious, the buried self trying to speak. Jung called this the shadow, the part of ourselves we deny, repress, and hide from others. But the shadow doesn't go away, it waits. And if ignored, it finds new ways to express itself, often through symbolism. And what is a tattoo if not a symbol you wear permanently? Think about it. You can't see your back, yet some women cover it in ink. Why would someone decorate the one place they'll never directly look at? Maybe it's not for them. Maybe it's for everyone else, or for something even deeper than that. A cry to be seen, or a desire to reclaim control over a part of themselves that once felt powerless. Carl Jung believed that people often mistake identity for healing. And that's the trap. Some women don't get tattoos because they've healed. They get them because they're still bleeding. And the tattoo becomes a form of armor. It's not "look at my art." It's "don't look too closely." And that's when it hit me. We are not in an age of expression. We're in an age of sublimation where pain is aestheticized, where unresolved trauma is branded as empowerment, and where the deepest parts of the self are projected outward instead of integrated inward. There's a reason so many women choose powerful symbols. Serpents, skulls, swords, angel wings, eyes, broken clocks, chained hearts. These aren't random, they're mythological. They're archetypal, Jung said. The unconscious speaks in the language of myth and symbol. So when a woman inks a broken clock on her chest, I didn't just see a design. I saw the echo of a past she couldn't control, a moment that froze her in time. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Jung also spoke of the persona, the social mask we wear. It's who we pretend to be to survive society's expectations. For centuries, women were told to be soft, nurturing, gentle. So what happens when a woman walks into the world covered in black ink with sharp lines and defiant symbols? She isn't just making a statement. She's rejecting the old persona. She's ripping off the social mask. But here's the paradox. When you replace one mask with another, you're not necessarily liberated. You might just be wearing a different costume. Jung warned of this trap. The false sense of identity that arises when we define ourselves against something instead of understanding who we really are. And it's not just about rebellion either. Many women with tattoos describe the process as addictive. They say things like, "It helps me cope," or "It makes me feel in control." Control of what? The answer is rarely surface level. It often ties back to pain, abandonment, abuse, grief, betrayal. The tattoo becomes a ritual of reclaiming agency over the body when the body once felt like a war zone. But does that ritual lead to resolution, or does it become a pattern, a loop that feeds itself? A loop where the pain gets buried deeper and the ink gets darker. There's a growing body of psychological research supporting this. Women who experience high levels of emotional dysregulation, borderline traits, or past trauma show a significantly higher likelihood of engaging in body modification. Not just tattoos, but piercings, scarification, cosmetic alterations. The question isn't why anymore. The question is what's missing inside that ink is trying to replace. Now, before you think this is all negative, it's not. Tattoos can be beautiful. They can mark healing, transformation, a journey well survived. But the line between expression and suppression is razor thin. And most people don't know when they've crossed it. Because the unconscious mind is clever. It doesn't ask permission to speak. It whispers through dreams, habits, and symbols. And if you don't listen, it starts to shout. And that's where we'll pick up in part 2. Because what Jung said next might completely reframe how you view tattoos, trauma, and transformation. There's one more psychological layer that almost no one talks about. And once you hear it, you might never see tattooed skin the same way again. There's a strange moment that happens when someone with multiple tattoos is asked, "Why did you get that?" And they pause, they think. They give a reason, but it often feels incomplete. "I like the design," they'll say, or "It represents strength." But if you look closely, listen carefully, you'll sense something underneath. That the tattoo isn't about what it shows, it's about what it covers. Jung believed that human beings are rarely aware of the true reason behind their actions. That what we call choices are often unconscious compulsions dressed up as logic. And when it comes to tattoos, especially for women who've lived through emotional chaos, abandonment, or rejection, the ink becomes more than self-expression. It becomes self-preservation. But there's one layer even deeper than the shadow or persona. Jung called it individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. Most people don't even start this journey. They live their lives wearing masks, reacting to wounds and mistaking rebellion for authenticity. Tattoos can be part of that illusion, especially when they're used as shortcuts to identity. Because in Jungian terms, individuation is not about adding symbols. It's about confronting them. It's not about saying, "I survived." It's about asking, "Why did I break in the first place?" Without that question, the ink becomes camouflage, emotional armor. Beautiful, yes, but also heavy, because symbols carry weight. And when you carve them into your skin without healing the pain they represent, they don't free you. They anchor you. Some women unknowingly use tattoos to externalize what they can't internalize. Pain they couldn't speak becomes a symbol they can point to. But here's the twist. The more tattoos they get, the louder the silence underneath becomes. It's a paradox Jung understood well. The louder the expression, the more you have to ask what is being suppressed. Now let me make one thing clear. This isn't about morality, it's about psychology. This isn't a judgment of people with tattoos, especially women. This is about why so many women today are drawn to this form of expression at specific turning points in their emotional lives. The pattern is undeniable. Breakups, deaths, betrayals, identity collapses, major life transitions. The spikes in tattoo decisions are emotional. They're often impulsive. And Jung would say that's your unconscious taking the wheel. And if you never question it, never slow down to ask what part of me needed this, you risk becoming a character in your own story rather than the author. The ink tells a story, yes, but who's writing it? There's something tragically beautiful about how many tattooed women describe their body as a journal, a map, a memory bank. But what's left unsaid is that this journal often gets written during emotional storms. And when the storm passes, they're left with ink that no longer represents where they're going, only where they were. So the question becomes, are you evolving or are you memorializing your pain? Are you using tattoos as a way to confront your shadow, or are you using them to mask it? The answer lies in understanding the unconscious motivations behind your actions. And that's a journey that requires courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront the unknown. It's a journey that Carl Jung called individuation, a process of becoming whole. And it's a journey that can lead to true healing, transformation, and self-discovery. So the next time you see a tattooed woman, remember that the ink on her skin is not just a design, it's a story. A story of pain, of struggle, of survival. And maybe, just maybe, it's a story of healing. And as you look at the tattoos, ask yourself, what's being expressed and what's being suppressed? Is it a cry for help or is it a declaration of strength? The answer lies in understanding the complex psychology behind the ink. And that's a story worth telling.